Thanks everyone for joining this episode of Powering Progress. I'm Landon Boyer, Vice President of Engineering for Power Products, and also serve as the Chief Technology Officer for Energy Management in North America. This month, I'm joined by Rohan Kelkar, Executive Vice President of Power Product Division globally. Rohan, always great to be with you.
Thanks for having me today, Landon. As you mentioned, I've been leading our Power Products division for Schneider Electric for the last couple of years. Although I lead this from a global sense, I also started at Schneider, as you know very well, leading our North America hub, so it's fair to say I'm excited to speak about this today. I help drive innovations in our products and our partner ecosystem, providing solutions to solving the challenges in the journey to net zero, which obviously is top of mind for all of us today.
Right. There's a lot of buzz around sustainability today. One topic in particular that we hear about is the new energy landscape. New energy landscape is more than just a buzzword to us. It means changing the world when it comes to energy production, distribution, and consumption. Today, I want to talk about how we're leading a path toward a net zero future with Electricity 4.0 and navigating the new energy landscape. What do our listeners need to know about Electricity 4.0 and why is it important?
First I'll start by putting things into context, especially with all the buzz around this topic here in North America. If you think about just what we are experiencing today, the summers have gotten hotter and the winters have gotten warmer. And this is no longer about what people say in some forums or reading in articles. It has become real for us just here sitting in the South of what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So we really have to confront this fact that now is the time to address the climate crisis. And as we're feeling it, it's truly an energy crisis. We are at a critical juncture. We are facing a substantial increase in experiencing extreme temperature events, crop failures, and a projected 50% decrease in the world's freshwater supply. It's never been more evident that the time is now to take action. More than 80% of the world's CO2 emissions are linked to the production and consumption of energy. Over 80% of energy demand is still delivered by fossil fuels. Progress is being made, but we need to go faster, about 3 times faster just to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius target by 2030. Just again, take a step back. Just last week, August 2nd, was Earth Overshoot Day, the day that our human demand on our planet reached our ecological resources ability to replenish. So basically, we have already consumed in the middle of the year our budget, if I were to use that word, for our entire year. That means we are consuming these resources way faster than we should. So if you're given all the food you can eat in the entire year on Jan 1, by August, you don't have any more left, just to think of it from a personal perspective. Now, we have the tools and resources that we need to drive the change. So this is not a theoretical conversation anymore. Here at Schneider, we say that the future is digital and electric, which drives the sustainable conversation. Digital for efficiency and electric for decarbonization is really the way we think about it, which drives sustainable for green and smart energy, which is our path to net zero. We know that there are more governments making commitments, 74 countries with net zero pledges. That's just at the end of last year with the close of COP26. Almost 90% of our global CO2 emissions. Government packages such as the 1.8 trillion euro in green stimulus package, which is the largest ever financed by EU, or the clean energy tax credits, which are available by the US government, 26% tax credit for the solar energy systems installed. So we know that there is governments making commitments. We know that more and more companies are making commitments. There were 215 companies in 2018 committing to our SBTs, or science-based targets. Today, or actually last year in 2022, we have over 3,600, which is a significant growth, as you see year over year on SBTI. Only 16% of these companies, by the way, are based in North America. And the overall, we are only looking at only 12% of the Fortune 500 companies that are actually delivering those targets. So the challenge is awareness is improving, which is a good thing, but the actual execution to those commitments is still way off. So when we talk about North America, over 62% of the energy we create in our North America ecosystem is really wasted, which is a big number. The time is now to really drive this action. We believe with Electricity 4.0, we can help lead the change and we can help drive to achieve a net zero future.
Yeah, Rohan, I think that's what strikes me the most too, is that how real this has become, how all the projections and how the climate change is really immediately apparent and right in front of our eyes even today. Let's talk for a minute about what it means to what we've been calling the new energy landscape. When we say new energy landscape, what we mean are all these new loads that are coming on, many of them DC loads with EV chargers and batteries and solar panels, predicting and preparing ourselves for our portfolio and the new reality. Things like, what does the breaker look like in the future? And the new loads, the switchboard, what would they need to be? I was just at NREL 2 weeks ago in Golden, Colorado. I spent some time with Arizona Electric and the Salt River Project. They're both power producers out on the West Coast. They're contemplating the same problems. For them, it's how do they manage the grid with so many prosumers? How do they communicate? How do they ensure stability of the grid? They're looking to Schneider to lead the way in interoperability. Because of our ability to scale in the industry, our microgrid, and our ability to digitize, mainly through SI-Pi. NRU would like to use our microgrid to run their new facility and wind farms, solar panels, and hydrogen regeneration plant.
Yeah, absolutely, Landon. In fact, I was on another podcast the other day, and we were talking about Miller Electric and their EV Innovation Center that they just launched in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's all about, really, I call it democratizing the experience for the customers. So in this case, it is the first experience center for EV charging technology, really from soup to nuts, all the way from consumers to big businesses and industrial businesses, demonstrating various technologies from various manufacturers, including Schneider Electric. And you're able to go in directly as somebody off the street, if I may, to be able to go understand and experience all the different technologies, which gives people the choice and really the understanding, I would say, to touch and feel the technologies and compare them side by side, which demystifies to some extent the fear some people have with the limitations around the charging technologies and the capacities which translate into a shorter distances or a perception of shorter distances. Now, as we move further into this digital transformation, we are going to need an infrastructure that is reliable as much as it is sustainable. So this is not a choice between one or the other. Microgrids allow facilities to continue operating when there's a grid outage. A microgrid can go into island mode to maintain operations during disaster scenarios or when the grid is unreliable. So depending on where you live in the United States or in North America, places like Puerto Rico have been much more susceptible to climate disasters, and microgrids have been instrumental in continuity of business. Same thing in Texas, California, wildfires, you guys hear the news, so on and so forth. They also enable greener operations by integrating on-site renewables, such as wind and solar. So microgrids can save energy and expenses by optimizing demand, storing electricity, and offer options, in some cases, depending on your utility, of selling it back to the grid during peak demand, so there's also financial incentive. There is an increasing pressure on demand for electricity that is renewable, flexible, and optimized, and distributed grids can be at the center and will have to be designed to be smart and green. So that's just the electrical distribution side. Now let's talk a little bit about the process electrification side, which is in the big energy intensive industries like steel, cement, chemicals, which typically have a massive carbon footprint. Industrial CO2 emissions are responsible for about a third of the total global emissions. And we know that heavy industry is not currently taking all the opportunities to decarbonize processes. Nearly 80%, to be specific, 78% of the industrial sector's energy demand is not electrified, which means that the majority of industrial equipment like pumps and motors are being powered by fossil fuels rather than electrification that is available today. Process electrification, therefore, holds a massive potential. We know that electricity is the best vector for decarbonization, and process electrification is a proven way for reducing industry carbon footprint without sacrificing production or performance. So 50% of site energy can be electrified today using existing technologies. Just to make it real, because everybody thinks that this is restricted to California or to Texas. I was talking to a client a few months back who is a steel mill based in Alabama. And they have been given the choice by their local utility on which days they want to take a shutdown, just because the utility is just not able to provide the demand that this plant needs to be able to run 24/7, 7 days a week. So this problem is real all across the US, not just in some heavily publicized portion of the industry.
I mentioned earlier that power producers are looking to us to help them solve their prosumer challenges, but we have many other customers that are looking to us to help them decarbonize. Can we talk for a few minutes about how we're helping and what we can do as power products in R&D?
Sure. So the new energy landscape includes the activities that we are developing to ensure that managing energy with a sustainability purpose is not contradictory with managing it with other purposes such as safety, availability, and power continuity. As we know very well, we deal in the business of safety, and that is not something we can ever compromise. A more connected approach for both purposes would be great, but it's only a small piece of energy landscape. The greatest opportunity for CO2 emissions reduction is with scope 3, that is finding a way to operate our products more efficiently, but also staying aware of the saved and avoided opportunities that we talked about, and keeping in mind that new energy landscape does not resume the structure of doing business in renewable energy segments. So we are designing with sustainability in mind, so evaluating scope 3 impacts during the design phase and really during the life cycle of the entire use of the equipment. Let's take an example of Zygo Activate, which our sustainability business launched just recently here. And this is a platform by which, and you're thinking small, medium businesses, right? Because the large infrastructure companies like your big web giants already have a dedicated infrastructure to focus on sustainability. But even for our smaller businesses, commercial, industrial businesses, we now have a platform by which they can evaluate the baseline, their sustainability footprint and their carbon footprint baseline, set targets, and then come up with active actions to be able to deliver these targets, and then measure their performance towards this execution plan, all with the platform which we call Zygo Activate. So that's really a way by which we are driving this more from a niche business to a business that is available and a framework that is available for execution to everybody in the US and really in the world.
Yeah, and I know also on the R&D side, we're learning that designing for sustainability takes a different thought process. And I think we're starting to learn that through examples and through projects. I've heard you say a few times that the time is now, and there's a sense of urgency. A lot of our customers are counting on us. How do you balance the urgent need to address the issues of today and tomorrow? And is Agile helping? If so, how?
Yeah, I think, I'm just going to put it in context. I was talking to some of our partners overseas that are in the business of battery manufacturing, really focused on the efficiency of batteries and how we deliver all the electrification that is associated with that. We're used to in our business in a traditional electrification life cycle, 2-3 years, sometimes even 5 years in terms of product life cycles. They talk about it in terms of months. So one of the biggest solar manufacturers is innovating once every quarter. So for us to be able to provide solutions, we have to fundamentally rethink our R&D development and deployment model. It's no longer in years, it's in weeks. And Agile is the way that really we are embracing inside Schneider Electric the ability to transform this. So it comes down to understanding what our customers need, what pain point are we really trying to solve with that particular product or ecosystem or solution, and then how much time do we have? This is a new dimension. How much time do we have to solve the problem? And that might be a matter of weeks and months and not years, because in some cases, just like you see in other high-tech semiconductor and software life cycles, things move every couple of years. And if you really want to drive and meet the market need, you got to do it right away. So doing number one is leveraging Agile to really think and understand the needs, what problem you want to solve, and now how much time do we have to solve that problem. We really need to think about that without compromising, like you and I discussed many times, quality or safety. That is not something we will compromise, and our market will not accept it. We need to really strengthen our new product design and then really the launch process, which again is not years. It's targeted. Who's the client? What segment? What application? What part of the world or what part of the country? We use Vitality Index as really a way to think about our progress and our vitality of the product, really, which is how frequently we are refreshing it. But we need to also integrate carbon calculators. So think about when, as an R&D engineer, somebody on your team needs to make a trade-off between cost, between speed. They need to understand what these trade-offs are in an objective way, In some cases, build solutions that don't exist. Green packaging is a great example, so that it is still cost effective. So it's not a trivial problem to solve, but it is a huge responsibility, and it's something that we as the market leader take on. And really, as we drive scale in the market, we fully expect that the cost trajectory and the ability for us to work with our ecosystem, and frankly, even our competitors, where the case might arise, to really drive this as a mandate for our entire ecosystem, for our industry, and really for the planet. To me, that becomes a future-ready R&D dimension that now stands in front and stands in the spotlight.
Yeah, I agree, Rohan. Especially now that we've got the multi-hub and the agile processes in place, that gives us a great opportunity to get customer value directly back into the customer's hands on a quick cycle, which is really in this environment of the new energy landscape. All of these startup companies, they're used to working on these quick turns and trying to beat the market and trying to be the first to market. And I think, now that we're all in the multi-hub and the agile processes, I think it gives us the opportunity to respond to these startup companies and these new. We have one final question. It's a question we ask everyone that joins the podcast, and that is, what is the one innovation that you can't stop talking about right now?
I would love to spend a half an hour talking about all the innovations we have going on in Power Products, but given that this is a NAM focused audience here, I would point out to FlexSet, and I would point to FlexSet for the single reason that it's designed to solve a problem that is very acute in the market today, which is one around the time it takes to build a switchboard and deploy it in a market that is growing exponentially. So we designed this keeping in mind that the end customer needs the flexibility. So as the construction cycle is reducing, our customers may have a view of what they want, but by the time they actually get it, they may have their needs might have changed, and you need to have a product that's able to go do that and adapt to those changes without going through an entire redesign cycle. So it meets a problem in the market, but then it does it in a way that is significantly more carbon efficient, that takes into account the logistic cycles, the design itself takes into account the amount of copper we use, the amount of, I will call it, additional bells and whistles that are really needed to deploy the value to the customer, and allows our partner, our entire ecosystem, to really design it fit for purpose for their needs and do it in a sustainable way. So in my opinion, it meets the check of it solves a problem, it does it sustainability, and it does it in a cost-effective way. So really, this is the way we need to do every single project or product or solution going forward.
This brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks, Rohan, for your time today.
My pleasure, Landon, and good talking to you as always, and look forward to being here again.
Thanks, everyone, for listening in. We'll connect soon in episode 5.
At Schneider Electric, the future is bright. Tune in next time for more on Powering Progress.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only, should not be undertaken as financial, economic, legal, business, tax, or investment advice. The information, statements, views, and opinions should not be construed as the provision of advice by Schneider Electric or as an offer to buy or sell any products or services or to make or consider any investment or course of action.